Now, from CBS News Miami, this is Facing South Florida with Jim DeFede.
Welcome to Facing South Florida. I'm Jim DeFede. Democrats across the country are feeling good after last week's elections in Virginia, New Jersey, and New York City. But it went well beyond those three elections. Democrats also won races in Alabama, Georgia, and Pennsylvania. But will that carry through to Florida next year? Well, let's not go crazy. But for Orange County Mayor Jerry Demings, Tuesday's election results certainly provided a nice backdrop to his announcement that he's running for governor. He will be running against David Jolly for the Democratic nomination. Now, before his formal announcement, I spoke to Demings about why he was running.
Well, first off, I think that most people who you talk to, they see a toxic environment between the different political parties. So I'm looking to really work across with any political party to take care of the needs of Floridians. I have a history of doing that. Obviously, in the role that I currently serve as mayor, it's a nonpartisan role. I don't care whether people are Democrats or Republicans. All I care about is taking care of them. So I'm looking to bridge the gap that currently exists between local governments and the state because of preemptions and this heavy-handed control that we're seeing now. I want to bring back some balance in how we operate as a state between local governments and the state of Florida. Secondly, I think that the mean-spirited politics that we see today is nothing more than dividing us across political lines. And so people want to see government get back to some balance where there's some normalcy in what they see. So I'm that person. I'm the person that is going to hopefully unify Floridians around this notion that you can be of different parties, you can disagree, but you can be agreeable to take care of the people's needs within this state. So I'm running on my public safety credentials. There will not be a candidate in this race who will bring to the table the type of crisis management experience that I bring. Obviously, I spent about 37 years or so in law enforcement, and I've had the kitchen sink thrown at me in terms of managing crisis, from dealing with weather phenomena to a global pandemic, to terror attacks and various other things that happened during my career. I bring that kind of experience that no other candidate is going to bring to the table.
Why do you believe you are better suited to be governor or to actually even have an attempt at winning than David Jolly, who makes the argument that he is the moderate, he is the centrist, he can work across the aisle because he has been a Republican, then moved to be an independent and is now running as a Democrat. He seems to be trying to run in that center lane. Why do you think you're better suited?
Well, I think that the difference between David Jolly and I is the experience at managing local government and having the relationships across the state with other local elected officials. The closest that people are to their government happens at the local level. He won't have that kind of experience, the broad-based experience that I have at this point. I've leaned into dealing with issues with housing affordability in my community. In terms of the issues with David Jolly, God bless him, anybody who wants to run for political office, they have a right to do it. I'm simply saying that to bring about the change that the majority of the people that they want to see today, what that takes is leadership. Someone who has the experience, the knowledge to be able to execute and implement the broad plans that people want to see for change. I just tell you that our skill set is different. I've been a sheriff, I've been a police chief, I've been a public safety director, I've been an interim jail director, I've done all those things. I've been a mayor now. And so those are skill sets that are very unique. You're not going to find that type of skill set in any of these other candidates that are going to come to the table to run. What I will also tell you is that in terms of where do we go from here, I want people to believe for a change that we can do it. And I humbly say this, I'm a lifelong Democrat, but I'm not running to be the Democratic governor of Florida. I'm running to be the governor of Florida. There's no path to victory if we don't get people who are in uh, unaffiliated situations in terms of registration. There are no party affiliates or independents or others. We need to get them to the table and believe that I'm the right person at the right time. I believe that I'm probably better suited to be able to convince people. They know who I am. I'm my authentic self. I don't have the baggage of having been a Republican for a lifetime and then newly as a Democrat.
One of the issues you talked about earlier was the heavy-handed nature that Tallahassee has brought to bear, and that was certainly evident recently with the forcing of you guys to sign, or Orange County to sign, the 287G agreement to allow, immigration, basically to step up immigration efforts, federalize almost statewide some of these officers, whether it's in your jails or it's your actual deputies. You had a choice to make. You could either have signed the agreement and voted to do it, or you could have defied the governor and the attorney general. Why didn't you defy him?
Obviously, the central issue here had nothing to do with the agreement. The agreement that I signed was an agreement with the federal government through an intergovernmental agreement. The state of Florida was inserting themselves in the middle of a discussion that was a two-party agreement between others. And the state of Florida and the governor was essentially saying that if we fail to sign the agreement because of a law that the state passed, uh, it would subject us to the potential for removal from office. I was not going to allow us to be removed from office. Also,
Wait a second. Let me just hold you there. I just want to jump in on that because
let me be clear here, okay? Because you asked me the question. Let me be clear here. There was a real threat that the governor potentially, in their interpretation, that we were not cooperating would remove us from office. But signing the agreement through the art of negotiation behind the scenes, what the public doesn't realize is that I knew that by signing the agreement was not going to require us to transport any detainees, federal detainees, to detention facilities. I knew by signing that because we were having discussions with the federal government. And so, because of that, signing the agreement was not going to do what many people perceived that it would do. It was inconsequential. And I will tell you to this day, our correctional staff at the Orange County Jail has never transported anyone to a detention facility, and likely they never will.
well, I mean, the point that I was going to try to make was that if you had defied the governor, if you had forced him to remove you physically, I mean, let him send the state troopers in, let him send FDLE to handcuff you and march you out of County Hall. That would have been a hell of a moment for you. I think you would have,
It would have been a losing moment. Why would I do that? Why would I give the governor the opportunity to insert his minions into the elected roles of my entire board of county commissioners? Why would I do that?
all
Because
right.
those consequences of doing that would have been irreparable. I wasn't going to put the citizens of Orange County at risk of having someone that they did not elect, they don't know, come in and change things. I owed it to my employees to not let that happen, who are afraid and concerned about their jobs. And at the end of the day, while the governor might have been playing checkers, I was playing chess. We continued to stay in our role. We were not removed. And if we had been removed, we've seen what happened when the governor has removed others. They fought for a year or better. Some never even got their jobs back. Others had to run for reelection. But that's a year down the road of chaos and dysfunctionality that would have been invoked on my constituents. I was not going to do that. So signing the agreement has really resulted in no consequences for us. That didn't happen. And so at the end of the day, I had to take my personal opinions about it out and put the people first. I put the people first. And as a result of that, we're still sitting here today. There were no consequences for Orange County government or my elected officials that I served with.
Your wife ran statewide 4 years ago for the United States Senate. What did you learn from watching that race that you think you can apply here? She obviously was not successful in that race, and the atmosphere for Democrats in terms of registrations have gotten worse in Florida. So I'm just sort of curious, what were the lessons, what were the takeaways you got from watching your wife run 4 years ago statewide?
Well, obviously, I was part of that. I was on the ballot myself. I had to run. I had some other initiatives that I was advancing to the ballot, and I saw her work her butt off, uh, crisscrossing the state of Florida, trying to convince the residents of Florida that she was the best candidate for the United States Senate at the time. Of course, she did not win. So there were some logistical things that I learned from that. There were some strategic things that I learned from that, and I would bring all of that to the table.
Can
Obviously,
you give me an example? Can you give me an example?
that would be more like insider information. I'm not going to put that out there how I strategically plan to win. But suffice it to say, I cannot win if I do not convince the people of Florida that I'm the right person at the right time.